back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be talking about the mistakes that I still make when it comes to watering my houseplants and how do I avoid them. So we all know that plants need water just like you and me, and also plants need different water requirements. So let's throw that myth out of the window where we assume that plants need to be watered every single day, because they don't need watering every single day. Overwatering generally kills your houseplants a lot faster than underwatering, so it's best that you know when is the right time to water your plants. And also please note that there are so many factors that could affect your watering schedule, from the type of plants, the potting mix that they're in, the type of pots, and the sizes of pots that they're in, and so forth. I will not be talking about these, but I thought that it is worth mentioning because we are on the topic of watering. Typical signs of overwatering include the leaves will be wilting even when the soil is still moist to the touch, and leaves that turn brown and then fall off. However, these signs may also indicate other problems about your plants, so the best way to gauge and to see how your plants are doing is to just take it out of the pot and to see how the root systems look like. So the first mistake that I make is using water directly from the tap. This is something that I never really thought of when I first started my houseplant journey. I would assume that every water is the same when technically it's not. So our tap water usually contain chemicals such as chlorine, fluoride, lead, and bromine. So these are typical chemicals used to disinfect our watering system. When you water your plants straight from the tap, some plants are more sensitive to these chemicals. Plants such as the calathea are more susceptible to the chemicals that are in the water. So bear that in mind when you do want to water your plants. Most plants are okay with tap water anyway, but certain plants, like I said, are more sensitive to these chemicals in the water. So what do I normally do? I would fill up my watering can with tap water, and then I would let it sit overnight to allow these gases to dissipate. But if I don't have the time to wait, I would just use water that has been filtered at the tap. And if you don't have a water filtration system available at your house, you can never go wrong with rainwater. So sometimes I will also collect rainwater from my rooftop and to just water my plants with them. So a second mistake that I still make is to not water my plants thoroughly. I used to water my plants just how you would think people would water their plants. You just pour water into the soil and call it a day. Well, not necessarily. You just have to make sure that when you do water your plant, you water the soil thoroughly and that you see water drain from the bottom of the pot. That's why I recommend putting your plants in pots that have holes at the bottom. So plants that are still in the nursery pots are great because nursery pots have holes at the bottom, compared to plants that are not placed in pots that have drainage holes are more likely to suffer from overwatering because there's no way for the water to drain and the soil is constantly too moist, and that becomes a breeding ground for bacteria and fungi. So what do? I first make sure that I have my plants in pots that have holes in them, and if you do not have holes in your pot, you can always use a decorative pot and house your plants that are in their nursery pots in that. Third mistake that I still make is not knowing that different types of pots and sizes would affect my watering schedule. So the three most common types of pots that you can find in the nurseries are plastic pots, ceramic, and terracotta. Plastic do not generally wick up moisture as fast as terracotta or ceramic. Ceramic, if it's glazed, they do not wick up moisture as fast, but terracotta is so notorious for wicking up moisture because it is made out of a substance that is porous. So generally, terracotta pots will dry up the soil much faster than plastic pots or ceramic pots. Number 4, not knowing how light exposure would affect my watering schedule. Plants in brighter surroundings would use up water a lot faster than plants that don't receive as much light. If you notice, your plants that are exposed to a higher light exposure would use up water a lot faster than your plants that are placed in a much shadier corner. Reason being is because plants undergo photosynthesis, and photosynthesis require both light and water. So it is true that if there is not much light, it will not use as much water for photosynthesis. And the fifth mistake that I still make until today is watering at the wrong time. Remember the previous point about light? Yeah, so plant use up water and light during the day to undergo the light reaction of photosynthesis. So it makes sense if there's not enough light, plants will not photosynthesize as much. So if you water your plants at nighttime where there's not much natural sunlight, they will not use that much water, and you would just end up drowning the plant's roots with water, and that might lead to root rot. However, if that has not happened to you and you've been watering your plants normally at nighttime, it's perfectly fine. Maybe you are doing an excellent job at taking care of the overall well-being of your plant. If that's your thing, go for it, girl. But for me personally, I do not water my plants at night because I just don't want to introduce a disease to my plants, because I have a lot of plants in my house, and if one were to catch a disease, I don't want it to spread to my other house plants in the house. So remember that it's always better to err on the side of underwatering than overwatering, because personally I find it a lot easier for my plants to recover when they are underwatered compared to when they are overwatered. So the best way to gauge whether your plants need to be watered is to just use that finger test. You just place your finger into the soil and to test whether it's a bit moist or damp. If the soil is still a bit moist and sticky, I'll wait for a day or two before I water it again. And if it's completely dry and brittle, it's a right time to just give your plant a drink. I hope this video helps you with your watering, and I hope you can give me a like or a subscribe if you're interested to watch more plant related content in the future for beginners, from a beginner just like myself. And remember, it is a journey that you learn through trial and error. Don't beat yourself up too much if you've done any of these mistakes. I still do these mistakes, and if you've killed your plants, I've killed so many plants for the past 2 years. So don't let that discourage you from learning and trying again every single day, because again, it's something that we learn along the way, and there's so much information out there you can watch to help improve or help make yourself a better plant owner. So until next time, I will see you again on the Plant Twink Diaries. Ta-da!